Did Notre Dame win a national championship under Marcus Freeman? I think that's a question everybody wanted to know coming into last year, and a slow start kind of hurt things. But I think that thinking is back on track. We will take a look at what the 2023 season looks like in terms of a schedule, in terms of personnel, and also take a look at what the long-term future looks like for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. The first game obviously is against Navy in Ireland. Now, there is some other factors outside of the matchup that could affect things, such as traveling to a different country, playing in a different time zone. Those things could affect this team, but this is still a Notre Dame team that should handle business against Navy. There's no reason why they should be in a game with Navy. And this is where avoiding that slow start is going to happen because the schedule is a little bit different. You don't have to play Ohio State right off the bat. You get Navy first, you get Tennessee State next. There's no reason why this team shouldn't be 2-0 after that. Like, absolutely no reason. If you have a slow start at because of those two games, you're going to be in for a long year to begin with. And I think that's one way to get kind of move on from last year, avoid that slow start, is by punishing both of those two teams. Then you have an interesting trip to NC State. Now, I think that the Wolfpack are going to look significantly different offensively. That is going to be something to keep an eye on. With Robert and I running the offense, Brendan Armstrong probably is taking over at quarterback. Who knows there, but that should be a different look for a team that is losing quite a bit of talent, but also has some veterans returning. Central Michigan should be a win. There shouldn't be any doubt about that. However, they can't get caught looking ahead to Ohio State. This is a Notre Dame team that lost to Marshall at home last year. Now, is Central Michigan Marshall? No, they are not. But this is a game where they could get caught looking ahead, and maybe the game is closer than expected. Should they lose that game? Absolutely not. But that's still something to keep an eye on. Then you go to the Ohio State game, one of the biggest games in college football. This is probably going to be two undefeated teams when you look at it, and that is really exciting for both programs. And last year was pretty exciting for the first half, and then Ohio State kind of pulled away because Notre Dame's offense just didn't really have anything. Now, we're going to talk about personnel in a little bit and why that might change in 2023, why actually it should change in 2023, but we will see. At Duke and at Louisville aren't games that you should be worried about, but Duke is much better than we thought. Louisville gets Jeff Rom, so maybe they're better than we think. All these games, this is the tough part about Notre Dame's schedule, is that with so many different options from so many different conferences, you could put yourself in a bind because you're playing teams that could be up and could be down. And this year it feels like a lot of these teams are going to be different and different in a positive way, which means more challenges for Notre Dame. A home game against USC and defending Heisman Trophy winner Caleb Williams didn't go their way last year. Obviously, this is still a team that is going to be tough. USC should be competing for a national championship. Notre Dame should be competing for a national championship. Now, I will say if they beat Notre Dame, if they beat Ohio State, excuse me, and they are undefeated coming into this game, I really like what Notre Dame can do in terms of slowing down. In terms of slowing down Caleb Williams, when you look at Marcus Freeman and what he's done in his past stops, there is no reason why this shouldn't be one of the best defenses in college football. Again, more on that later. Pitt is should be a win. I think Pitt is headed in the wrong direction, and Notre Dame gets 2 weeks to prepare for them. At Clemson's going to be an absolute dogfight. Wake Forest and Stanford, not so much, but still games you must prepare for. There are multiple games on this schedule that concern me and also give me excitement. They're games that if you win those games, the Ohio State game, USC, Clemson, those are three games that if you find a way to win all three, we're talking about national championship expectations. We're talking about national championship game appearances. And that is huge for a Notre Dame program that, again, maybe wasn't as good as they wanted to be at the beginning of the year last year, but they found a way to turn things around. And I think that you should have the expectation of them being a much better team overall and more consistently in 2023. Here's the thing that's going to make a huge difference for Notre Dame. The offense is going to have to play a role in being better. I think that when you look at Notre Dame over the last few years, one of the biggest things that held them back was the offense. And whether that was in under Brian Kelly or even last year when it was Marcus Freeman's first year, the offense was the liability between the offense and the defense. That's been kind of the consistent theme with Notre Dame. Now we've seen what's happened when you have a good offense. When you look at like the Ian Book days and when they made it to college football playoff, then you're talking about teams that are much better. And that's going to be the same thing here. It's going to be the same idea where the offense has to be better. Now, bringing in a quarterback like Sam Hartman comes with some questions, but also brings plenty of excitement. Now, with what offense Hartman played in at Wake Forest, you wonder if he's a system quarterback. It's something that everybody's going to be asking for quite a bit. They're going to wonder what he can do in a different offense that maybe isn't the same as what Wake Forest ran. I think Sam Hartman has incredible talent. Now, if he can reduce his interceptions, that's going to be huge. He had 26 in the last 2 years. He's not going to be able to just sling it. He's not going to be a gunslinger. Notre Dame needs him to be more efficient. So his numbers might be down, but I think when you're looking at a guy that now obviously he still has to win the job, but this is a guy that can bring your offense to another level. The rushing attack is going to be one of the best duos in college football. It's just going to come down to the passing attack because the offensive line will be fine, the running backs will be fine. Michael Mayer is gone, so somebody else has to step up. Somebody has to be Sam Hartman's go-to receiver. And right now, we don't know who that's going to be, and that needs to happen if Notre Dame wants to truly compete for a national championship. We talked about the defense earlier. We mentioned their expectations. This should be one of, if not the best defense in college football. Every level is going to be really, really good. Now, the defensive line takes the biggest hit of the groups, but this is still a loaded defense. This is still an extremely talented defense. The linebackers might arguably be the best linebackers in college football. The secondary returns a ton of talent to a linebacker. You're looking at JD Bertrand coming back, Jack Kaiser coming back. You have plenty of players that can step up, even some players that didn't play as much last year. There's talent to sprinkle across the field. And also, you have Marcus Freeman running the show. And I think that you're looking at one of the best defensive minds. Now, he has his staff working with him, and he's not making all those play calls, but this is still a defense that should have high expectations. In the secondary, Benjamin Morrison comes off a 6 interception season. Cam Hart is solid. They got Thomas Harper from the transfer portal via Oklahoma State. This is a group that I believe should be incredibly talented and one of the best groups in college football. And that's going to be huge because some of the teams that they're playing feature high powered offenses. And if they're able to slow those guys down, then Notre Dame's in business. Now, again, it comes down to what the offense can do. If the offense is efficient and more explosive than they were last year, which I expect them to be, this is a group that is going to be extremely dangerous and a team that you do not want to face in the college football playoff. They just have to get there and they can't have another slow start. It just really comes down to that. If you have a slow start, you're just not going to make things happen. You're not going to make a college football playoff experience. You're not going to make a national championship appearance. It's something that Notre Dame needs to find a way to elevate their game. They're not playing in a conference. They're not playing for a conference championship. So they have to go undefeated if they want to get into the college football playoff. And even then, that might be not be enough. Teams, if they have 4 undefeated Power Five champions, I don't know if you're necessarily going to see any of this team in the postseason. I don't think you're going to see them if they can't. Oh, so it really just comes down to you're going to have to find a way to dominate your independent schedule. You're going to have to find a way to prove that you are one of the elite teams in college football, and you're going to have to find a way to prove that slow start last year was just the transition of going to a new coach. I think that's what it was. And I think that this team has incredible potential in 2023. But obviously, there's some things that they need to figure out. And I believe that this program can do it. Notre Dame is in good hands. Now, what it means in the future, Marcus Freeman is already doing a great job in recruiting. He has found ways to bounce back from adversity already in 2022. And this is a team that has extremely high expectations in 2023.